Welcome to the HS Warrior Podcast. Welcome everyone, episode number 2 of the HS Warrior Podcast. It is number 2, so we are the shit. You know what I mean? Anyway, today I have a special guest like I promised. My special guest, Pedro Romero. Pedro, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody.
All right, awesome. So if you've never heard about Pedro Romero, I don't know what rock you've been living underneath. Let me tell you a little bit about this guy. He's actually the guy who I went to when I decided to pull the trigger on the HS Warrior Podcast, because he had a podcast called the Original HS Podcast, correct?
It was called Our HS Podcast, and the HS stood for Our Heroic Stories, so it was like a double meaning.
Okay, all right. And I remember calling you, man, and you were like, we had never met before that. You know, I was like, hey, I saw that you're the only one that's actually had a podcast. And if there's other podcasts out there that I didn't get to see, I apologize, you know, that aren't doctors, you know, that are actually patient driven. Do you prefer patient, warrior, survivor? Which one do you prefer?
Well, I usually go by Hero.
Okay. Well, hero, that works too, man. You know, so yeah, you had the podcast. You want to tell me a little bit about like what you would do on your podcast?
Well, back in the day, it was, we were all doing things the first time, so there was like pioneering.
Yeah.
And this is when podcasts were first starting to be available for regular people to make. First, it was like, stars were doing it. So when regular people started doing it, that's when I kind of figured out how to do it. And I didn't have a book. It was all trial and error, trying to figure out what equipment works and what sounds good. And, the first episode, I got a lot of listens on it. And so from there, I started trying to do more helpful stuff, like interviewing disability lawyers and, different people in the industry. I did a few interviews, and then other times it was just me talking about whatever situation I'm in. And, just trying to explain how my condition is worsening or getting better based on whatever it was I was doing.
Man, I know all about that. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and just bring it up now. You know, it is hot. I live down in Miami. Let me tell you, I went to 7-Eleven this morning. You won't believe who I saw there buying a Slurpee.
Who did you see?
The devil himself. That's how hot it is. He was buying a Slurpee here. All right, but I know that on your Instagram you posted about wearing sleeveless shirts, and I see you today. I know that they're not going to be able to see you, but I see you today wearing one. Man, you look nice, comfortable, and happy, and that is the most important out of everything. Is that that we should be comfortable and happy, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and everybody gets to see my white shoulders now, so I get to have to tan gently because, man, those first rays of sun were pretty rough on my shoulders.
Do you have a farmer's tan going on, or?
I do now, but yeah, you see it, the little stripe here. I got a little red out there the first day because my skin wasn't used to the sun.
Yeah, nah, man, I could listen because I'm very fair skinned. I'm a Cuban, as you know, so I'm like white, and because people don't realize a lot of Cubans are white, like blonde hair, blue eyed white, and you're like, how is that Latino? It's almost as bad as the Argentinians.
Exactly, like Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so and of course you're a lot of things other than just HS, and I know I'm focusing right now on the HS. Let me know if you want to bring anything else up. I know you're an avid fisherman. I've told you you gotta get down here. We gotta go hit up the Florida Keys. Get you into some salt water, buddy.
Yeah, I get to try out some bait casters when I'm out there.
Listen, I'll take you sandballing, and it'll totally change your mind.
Oh yeah, that'll be nice.
Do you know what sandballing is or no?
No, I don't, but I hear people talk about it. I just don't know exactly what it is.
You get sand, chum, and oats. Mix it all together. You put your bait on the hook and you make a ball of that sand around it. Put the line around it and then throw it into the water. The sand starts disintegrating. The chum, they start coming towards it. They start eating the oats. The next thing you know, you get into a school of like yellowtail or redtail snapper, man, and it's one after the other into the boat.
That's kind of
It's
like how you carp fish.
I, I guess, yeah. I mean, I've never
It's the
carp
same thing with
fished.
the chum. Yeah, you have a hook that has like a little string on it that holds your bait,
Okay,
so the bait's not actually hooked, and then you throw it out with chum.
nice, nice. All right, so you're also an HS advocate. I know I am my biggest advocate. Uh, if you were telling somebody else how to be a good HS advocate, do you have anything like to suggest? Like, what would you suggest about being an HS advocate?
Well, my first suggestion is always that, it's rough when you come at your doctor hard. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Yeah.
So attitude is like 90% of it, and I've had to learn that the hard way because I've gone really hard at doctors, and they push back, and they have the power. So it's kind of rough. You have to walk a fine line. You have to be firm, but you have to be fair. You can't bulldoze your way through and tell them you have to have this medication, and go in there with your mind made up. You do have to go with an open mind. And my biggest thing was just listening to all the horror stories that anybody tells you, because as soon
Yeah.
as you say, oh, I'm gonna take Humira, oh, my brother got cancer and he died from that. But I mean, if you look anecdotally, yeah, people can say that, but I've looked at the studies. The studies are not anywhere near what people make it out to be. There's just people that are scared of medicine, but they want to scare everybody else away from medicine.
Well, no, and I totally understand that, and it's also a joke that I love to say because if you start Googling all your symptoms, you're gonna die of cancer in a few days. Because according to Google, you got cancer. Oh, I got what? Why do I have a headache? Well, there's this, and some people take it to the extremes, man. So I totally get that. I mean, like I try to tell people, you are your biggest advocate, and it's not always easy when you're in pain and you're bleeding out. I mean, Jesus Christ! Last night, I looked at all my gauze and I was like, yeah, today was one of those days. It was a real fighting day because, man, there was so much blood, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, I've had really good doctors and I've had some pretty bad doctors. And I know a lot of it depends on which insurance you're using. If you're using state-sponsored insurance, if you have private insurance, the quality of doctors varies. But I've had some where I was on state insurance and I had a pretty good doctor. But there's just more hoops to jump through, and they have rules they got to go by because they have
yeah,
to protect themselves as well as protecting you. So oftentimes when they're making you try out all these medications before you get to the one you want, they have to prove that those aren't working. And it
yeah,
is what it is. Like you're going to be uncomfortable for some time. And in me being a medical cannabis user, they will not give me pain medication for anything, and I got to test clean for 180 days to get even tramadol. They won't even give me tramadol. So
so,
I have to either self medicate with cannabis or I have to hurt. And the strongest thing that will give me is ibuprofen 600s. They won't even give me 800s, only 600s.
wow, that is no fun, man. No fun whatsoever. But that's why we're warriors, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I have to adjust. And even my doctor says, if you have to self medicate, you have to self medicate. But if
Yeah.
it's cannabis, I'm fine with that because the doctor studied it. He says to him it doesn't look like it's addictive. And as long as I'm doing it, and if I'm not smoking it, if I'm consuming like edibles or doing canna
Yeah.
butter, I'm not worried about the issues with my lungs or any of that. I mean, yes, I do smoke it occasionally, but
Yeah.
I mean, specifically, I have canna butter and I put it in my coffee and I'm good all day,
You're good to
and
go.
and and that's my pain medication. And I've got to the point where I know how much to dose, or I'm not going to be a zombie or be knocked out all day. I'm able to function. I'm just have pain relief, much like somebody taking a Vicodin or something, where you can still
No,
function, but
yeah.
you
No,
don't want to be driving, but you can still function.
yeah, no, no. And let me tell you, man, I get that. And it's interesting, because I always say no two warriors, no two patients are the same. And like me, for instance, don't get me wrong, I am not knocking cannabis. As a matter of fact, I'm a big advocate for legalizing it. However, I will tell you this, and I've met other HS patients that are the same way. Whenever I use cannabis, it makes it like amplifies my HS pain.
Yeah,
So
that happens to some people.
yeah, no, and it does, and that's why it's. it's not for everybody, but hey, if it works for you, amen, a salute. I'm all for it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's a plant. What actually works for me is what kratom. Am I pronouncing that right? I don't know. I mean, that's just what works for me. Is the kratom, and it takes
Uh-huh.
the edge off enough so I could get some sleep at night. You know.
Yeah, and I've actually tried that. It does help me sleep. For me, I don't think the pain relief is as strong. I have to because I'll have to take like 5 pills to get what I need to
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
The amount of pain relief I need when I'm on a bad day, because some days are incredibly unbearable. Those days when you wake up stuck to the sheets, like that's the unbearable time.
Yeah.
And I mean I leak so bad sometimes. I mean, I'm married, I have a wife, but we can't sleep in the same bed
Yeah.
normally, because I drain a lot. I know that there's smells that come from
Oh
it.
yeah.
I don't want to get it on her.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's something we've learned to adapt to. It's just me and her in the house, so we don't have any kids or anything here. So we're able to spread out a little bit, and we found a way to make it function. It works for us, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's an adaptation that I had to make based on my HS, because I mean, honestly, I don't want to be bandaging up all the time because air doesn't get to it, and to me, it seems like it gets more infected, and it boils out more when I'm always bandaged.
No, no, listen, I agree with you because I bandage up during the day, but at night I like to let it breathe. But I have to sleep with a few towels underneath me and stuff. So I totally get where you're coming from. And I'm sure, other people do too because, hey, we're all here. So speaking of smells, I want to shift gears here real quick and talk about some awesome stuff. Uh, every HS warrior is like, does this soap work? Does this soap work? Does that soap work? Blah blah blah. And we're willing to try any soap. I mean, we'd probably sell our souls, to get a soap that works. Now, I'm not saying the soaps you have work. I'm not saying they don't work, but they will definitely make you clean, and they come from a person with HS, like somebody that understands what you're going through. So you also own, and we're going to shift gears here, the HS Soap Company. And it's hssoapcompany.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I plan to put a link inside the description when this airs on the 10th. So do you want to give me a little rundown of exactly what is the HS Soap Company? What do you guys offer? What different types of soaps, things like that?
Well, let me kind of roll it back to the origins of all of this.
Yeah.
Is there was a time where I'd had surgery,
Hmm.
and I was trying Hibiclens, but Hibiclens was drying out my skin really bad.
It
I was
does.
trying the Cetaphil soap. It was drying me out too much, and
Yeah.
my skin was cracking. It wasn't healing properly, and so my doctor had told me, because I was actually at an appointment, and I was explaining it to the surgeon, and he was telling me, well, there's a farmer's market outside right now. Go buy one of their bars of handmade soap and try it out. See if that helps you, because it's probably the detergents and the additives that they put in the soap that's drying you out.
Yeah.
And these are supposed to be for sensitive skin, but they're still very drying. And so I bought a bar of soap and I tried it, and I actually liked it. And so I had gone back and spoken to the people that had made it, and they were kind enough to show me how they do it. And so it was, at the time I had been medically retired, so I had free time all the time. And so they showed me how to do it, and I started using ingredients that I liked, that I figured maybe they would help. The big one was charcoal, and everyone kept
Really?
telling me charcoal was it, and so we started doing soap with charcoal in it. And
So
my
like,
issue is I live in a small apartment, so I have to make it at my friend's house. And so we work together with this now. So
yeah.
but yeah, I was using like charcoal, turmeric, and there's
So
apple cider vinegar,
hold
different
on,
ingredients in
hold
different
on.
soaps.
Now, when you say charcoal, I just want to make sure because I'm picturing like Kingsford charcoal, and I'm like, what? I know it's not that, but that's just what I'm picturing. What do you mean by charcoal? Is it like actual? Is there like a natural lump wood charcoal? Like what? Because I love the barbecue, so that's where my mind is. Uh,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, we use like activated charcoal, so it would be
Okay.
like medical grade, where it's kind of used in a fish tank. if you see like the fish tanks that use charcoal in their filters.
Got you.
So it's like that, and it does the same thing where it absorbs when you use it. So
Hmm.
in my case, I feel like it absorbs the smells, and it and it helps purify that the area,
Yeah.
not just superficially, but it feels like it goes a little deeper than that. And especially when you have an open wound, you can wash with handmade bar soap and it's not going to burn. At least in my case, I wasn't getting any burn. If I used Hibiclens or any other soap, I would notice a sting or a burn occasionally, and I don't notice that with handmade soap.
Well, I can tell you that, and it was told to me by a few dermatologists, not just one, not just two, not to use Hibiclens all the time because Hibiclens does contain a like rubbing alcohol, which is great for disinfecting, but like you said, it dries everything out. We know that, you know. So no, I think it's great, man. So charcoal, I mean, I'm coming from a barbecue background, so I'm a fat boy. I'm like, what are we barbecuing here? Some sausage, you know? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and then seeing my charcoal soap, we also put aloe in it because aloe is moisturizing, so
right.
it helps with both things. It helps purify and cleanse really deeply, but then it's moisturizing at the same time.
You see, that's like the important thing, man. Like, and that's why I thought it was cool because Dial of Dove, whatever other company you want to think about that makes soap, the people making this stuff don't have HS. They're not experimenting it on their own. They're just trying to clean their sweaty balls or get rid of the fish smell, whatever you want to call it. That's what they're trying to do. But yeah, no, it is what it is, and I think it's really cool that there's a company out there where it's not you don't. I'm taking you don't do big production runs like you said. You're having to make it in house, so it's like a homemade soap, and it's the hssoapcompany.com, man, and it's really cool. I just ordered the cedarwood one. Uh, I actually have a weird request, and maybe you might jump onto this, or if you're
Okay.
already not doing it, maybe you should think about it. Uh, Boy, and I just lost the terminology for it. What is that stuff that they put inside the citronella? There we go. Can you do a citronella soap?
I probably could. The one that's similar to that is
Yeah.
I have a eucalyptus one that's actually it's curing, so it's going to take a little while, but it has eucalyptus in it, and it has this a similar scent to it. But that's the one that everyone likes to use when they like if you're going to go outside and be where there's mosquitoes,
Yes.
because
Yes.
and that's what it's for because it has it excuse me.
No, no, you're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it actually has the eucalyptus in it, but it has tea tree
Yeah.
oil at the same time, so you get the hit with both of them. You get the tea tree oil and the eucalyptus oil in it.
Well, I know tea tree oil is like a big thing because it's so humid down here in South Florida. I get, and on my part of my thing is long term antibiotics. Like, it is what it is. I'm not
Yeah,
proud of it, but and I'm very, very gut healthy. With kombucha and live probiotics and fermented foods, kimchi, stuff like that. But I still, from time to time, I will get yeast or like jock itch, man, and it is crazy. So, and I have soap that is meant. It's an antifungal soap, and like the main ingredient is a tea tree oil in it. So that's great that you have that,
yeah, and
and
I actually have a tea tree mint one in stock right now. That one is very popular, just because it has a tea tree and it has the like a mint, but it's like a
yeah.
spearmint kind of a scent.
Ooh, now I have a question. I've used I don't mean to bring up other soap makers, Dr. Bronner's. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yes,
Okay, I will use during the summertime their peppermint soap, and that is
yeah.
just to keep my skin cool because it feels like 3,000 degrees outside. Does your soap the tea tree with peppermint? It's peppermint or spearmint. I'm sorry.
Well, it's mint, but it's more like a spearmint than a peppermint.
Okay, so it's not gonna leave like icicles hanging off your ass. Is what I'm saying.
No,
Is
no,
what I'm
no.
asking. Okay.
It has a slight tingle
Yeah.
occasionally. Like it depends on what part of your body you put it on. If you put it
Okay.
on your arm, you probably won't feel it. But if you go in a more sensitive area, you may feel a little tingle. But it's nothing that burns.
Okay. No, I mean, it was like I don't want to call it a burn. It's almost like a freezing, and it's the craziest thing in the world that that soap will do that. That's why I was like, well, is it that concentrated? That's what I wanted to ask about that. So no, man, that is some great stuff, buddy. Um, any suggestions you would have for where to begin with what soap? For let's say I just got diagnosed with HS and I'm looking for a soap alternative. What, and maybe even if it's not yours, what would you suggest as, I want to say flavor, but I know that's not the right
Scent.
word. A scent. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, scent. What type of scent or what type of essential oil soap? Because that's basically what you have are essential oil soaps, correct?
Yeah, but some of them have flower petals in them. Some of them have oatmeal for exfoliation. Some of them
Okay.
have charcoal for exfoliation. There's different additives, but I mean, I have one that has rose petals in it.
That's awesome. That is very awesome. So what would you suggest for somebody just with, I know it's the HS soap company, but let's say, they don't know where to start. What would you suggest? Maybe a green tea?
Almost everybody gets a charcoal aloe. That's always like the most popular scent is a charcoal aloe. I also have a black soap that's similar in scent, but it's more musky, and it has the same ingredients. Are you
Okay.
still there?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
still
I'm
here.
sorry.
No, no,
Okay, I thought you froze.
no, yeah, sorry about that. Man, I'm on the website right now. I'm actually looking. Tell me about the bath bombs because let me tell you, for me, a great bleach bath with Epsom salt in it does wonders for my HS.
Well, this does have the same ingredients. You have Epsom salt, but you also have baking soda in it. Both of them are really good for your skin, especially if you have open flares. So the perfume on these is, it can be strong on certain ones, but I try not to get the super strong ones. Just because I know people don't like the super super strong smells.
Yeah.
I have a black soap one that you would think it smells really strong, but it's pretty mild.
Now I have a question. Is it okay to mix one of those with bleach instead of bath? Will it hurt
Yeah,
it?
it should be fine.
Okay.
Just I would let the bomb dissolve first and then put your little bleach in there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there's nothing to react with it.
Okay. And I also just ran across something. Now, uh, growing up, I was a big time pot smoker. And my favorite incense ever was Nag Champa. And I just saw you have Nag Champa mud handmade soap, which now I'm really interested. Is it like the incense, the blue one that everyone would get?
Yes, it's the same. It's the high quality Nag Champa oil, the original oil that we use in it,
Okay.
and it also has Rasul clay in it, and that's like a calming clay. Like a lot of women use it in their cosmetics, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to like help with your wrinkles and help moisturize your skin and help with the collagen. There's a lot of
Man.
benefits from that clay, and especially for wounds, it's supposed to speed up healing with a wound.
Man, I am gonna have to try that one out. I just love that smell. Period. It reminds me of good times in my childhood. Good times growing up, man.
Well, I've actually got a patchouli sandalwood that it'll remind you of the same stuff.
Really? Okay. I'm
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
because the patchouli is like really, that's the hippie smell.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Time out. No, no, no. And I hate to say this, hippies don't wear deodorant, man, and that smell drives me crazy.
Well, I'm close to San Francisco, so
Y-
everybody's no deodorant patchouli.
okay. Well, no, the ones I've smelled. Okay, so I'm talking from Miami. They won't wear deodorant, and it's pure. I don't know the word in English. I'll say it in Spanish. If you know it, make sure to translate. Grajo. It's pure grajo smell, man. I'm like, bro. But
Like
and I get
funk.
it. I get it. You don't want to wear deodorant, but come on, maybe some, body splash, something, man. I
Just
don't know.
wash it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it gets crazy.
But when you're an HS patient, you're really sensitive to
Well,
like people wanting to shower, and you wonder why do you guys not shower? Because like for me, if I don't take 5 showers a day, I don't feel clean.
yeah, no, and I'm the same way, man. And so many. Let me tell. I don't know if you go to the HS, like Hope for HS groups and stuff like that. I meet up with so many other warriors. A few things we all have in common. We all wear dark clothes to hide from us leaking, and we are all avid showers. So going and getting some doctor saying, "Well, you have bad hygiene." Go fuck your mother, man. The fuck do you know what you're talking about? So
Well, I
yeah.
think that's where I got my complex because when I had HS manifesting itself when I was around 5. So,
Wow.
you know, the whole time the doctors were thinking that I wasn't washing right, I wasn't clean enough. So I got a complex where I always wanted to be clean. And, you know,
Yeah.
even if I went out and ran around in the mud, I needed to come in and take a shower. There wasn't any of this pretending that I took a shower, or like the way some of these teenagers these days will just use like Axe body spray instead of taking a shower. Like that doesn't work for me. You know, especially when you have HS, you know, the rotting
Yeah.
carcass smell. You
Yeah.
know,
The
it
the
doesn't do anything.
the rotting
And
onions. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, just that funk smell, you
yeah.
know, and
Oh.
you know, and then with Axe body spray, that stuff doesn't smell good anyway. So it's like that funk and my funk, that equals no women for me.
Man, I gotta tell you, man, like that is always, and I gotta tell you, I have been complimented on how I smell. You know, I do gotta say I do a good job of masking it between powders. I do use body deodorant. And yeah, sometimes I use Axe, but that's just strictly like on the chest, and like I don't go crazy spraying it everywhere. You know, that's just
Yeah, and
me.
yeah, and see, like with me, I can't use any deodorant. It'll plug up all my pores, and
Right.
I get infected if I
Yeah.
use any spray deodorant or any solid deodorant. So the
Okay.
only thing I can use is that crystal deodorant, the one that's a salt crystal.
Yeah.
I can use that, and I don't get irritated,
Now
and
that's not bath
I
salts, right?
it's a kind of like Epsom salt, but
Dude,
it's a kind of salt.
I'm just messing with you, bro. I don't know if you know about bath salts.
I know bath, especially Florida and bath
Yeah, yeah,
salts.
exactly. Where I'm from, man. Oh, you're talking about using salts, bro. What are you talking about, man? You're gonna eat
Just
somebody's
put
face off
just
on
put
flaca.
Florida man in it put I always put Florida man in my search bar, and there's always something
Yeah,
entertaining.
but you know what the funny thing is, man? Like, okay, I hear it all the time. Oh, Florida man, Florida man. Yo, I'm from Miami. We're a different country than the rest of the United States of America. This is North Havana, baby. You know, like,
Yep.
man, if you've never had Cuban coffee at 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't know what you're missing. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have a nice little enclave there, and this is like little Mexico here.
No,
This is like little
oh,
Mexicali.
you know, I know, man. I had my buddy lived out in the Bay Area for a long time, and he got so used to good Mexican food. And he came back to Miami. He's like, man, that's the one thing I miss. Just outside of Miami, just south of it, there's a little town called Homestead. It's known for farming and stuff like that, and it has a big Mexican population. So I said, buddy, I got you. And I brought him to this one restaurant down there, and he was doing backflips. He's like, now this is Mexican food. The minute he ordered the Coca Cola that came from Mexico, he was like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm in authentic heaven. Like I know what's up. So, no, I know about the Mexican food in Cali, bro. I've been there. I've had it. Phenomenal. And then when I came back to Miami, I had to go on my own search. I was like, yeah, you can't show me this and not give it to me for the rest of my life.
But let me tell you about something special that you're probably only going to find in my town. I live in
Okay.
Fresno, California.
Okay.
So we have a very large Southeast Asian community because after the Vietnam War, they started bringing over all the people that helped us during the war, all the mountain people.
Yeah.
So they're called Mongs, and so there's a whole bunch of them that and they were in Laos and in Thailand, and so they were brought over here as immigrants because they helped out the
Mhm.
U.S. during the war.
Yeah.
Well, they started making food here, and there is a dish here. It's like a fried chicken, but it's spiced in a certain way. Like I can't even find the spice, and I cook, and I've asked a lot of them. They won't tell you how they do it. I did see a spice pack, so I know part of what they use, but they do something else to it. But it's fried chicken with sticky rice, and they give you a little packet of really hot chili,
Oh.
and you know, and so it's all wrapped up in one of those little trays with
Yeah.
plastic on it. So you get like a leg quarter, and then you'll get a chunk of rice. This and it's like really there's no flavor, it's sticky rice. But when you eat it with the chicken, because the chicken has a lot of flavor,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you dip it in the spicy stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, you will never try. I've never seen it anywhere else in the world, and I've been around a lot. If you go
Yeah.
to Southeast Asia, you might see something similar to that, but in the U.S., this is the only place I've ever seen that.
Man. Now the Hmong community, isn't that the same community from that movie Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood?
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of them in Minneapolis too.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of unskilled labor there, so they moved some of them there, and they moved some of them here because of all the farm work that's out here.
Okay.
And so there's different little hot spots, but I mean, it's a great community, like the nicest people you've ever met.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
and
yeah. No,
and
I
and
don't.
their
Yeah.
and their food's amazing.
I mean, I get it, man. It's awesome to see all the different, things going on and everything else. All right, we're gonna shift gears here as we are starting to run out of time. I love talking to you, man. You and I get on the phone for 2 or 3 hours, what, maybe once every 2 weeks, something like that,
Yep.
and we just sit there and talk crap about comedy. Because you like comedy as well. We'll talk crap about old TV shows. I love this type of stuff as well. So yeah, and it's always a pleasure. But as you know, when I started talking to you about doing the podcast, I had an idea for a segment called Dear Warrior, which is almost like a Dear Abby, which I used to do back in the day with a newspaper. And episode number 2, we got our first Dear Warrior. So are you ready to tackle this with me, or
Yeah, let's hear what they got to say.
all right, let's see. So the nickname they've chosen is Live Pink. Okay. So
Okay.
we're going to refer to them as Live Pink. Live Pink writes, Dear Warrior, thank you for making this podcast. I recently received the diagnosis of HS, and it's easier knowing other people are out there with the same situation. Well, Dear Pink, that's why we make this podcast. That's why I'm making this content is to bring out this HS out into the limelight, out into the open for everybody. Anyway, so let's get down to the question, right? Being a new warrior, do you have any suggestions on how to deal with doctors that don't seem to know about this disease? And we were talking about that earlier, and I know you and I both have ran into this, and every warrior has already run into this because I remember for years running to emergency rooms with abscesses and boils, and they were like, "Oh, it's a bad staph infection. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Oh, it's diabetes. Because I'm diabetic. It's diabetes. Things like that." So, how do you deal with that, doctor? I'm gonna let you start off on this, and then I'll jump in, and we'll go from there. So, how would
Okay.
you deal with a doctor? I know that you said being nice to them and everything. So,
Yeah. I found that a calm demeanor gets you a lot further, and a lot of times, and I can kind of story tell here a little bit,
go ahead.
but
Go ahead.
I've had issues where that there's a certain nurse that's a gatekeeper,
Yeah.
so you got to find a way to get through that gatekeeper, and this is like marketing 101, and I have my degree in marketing, so
Oh, there you
I
go.
find ways to apply it in my everyday life, and part of it is getting through gatekeepers. So and again, you're not kissing ass or anything, but you're really just trying to understand their side of the issue, because some of them aren't aware of what's going on, and some of them are aware of what's going on, but the insurance company is giving orders. And that's usually the problem with me, is most of my doctors, they know what's going on, they know what the treatment should be, but their hands are tied by the insurance company. So and
No, no.
and that's something you got to work with.
No, I can't agree with you there. However, and I've noticed it less and less. When my first diagnosis was actually in an emergency room, where I was in there for like the fourth time in a month, and the guy was like, "Hey, I think you have hydradenitis suppurativa," and I was like, "What?" Like, can you write that down because I've never heard of this. Come to find out, it's common, but not really studied about. And that's when I first, received the guillotine of, yep, you have an incurable disease. Wing, head off with his head. But a lot of doctors, I had a pilonidal cyst. And at the time I was having a really bad flare. And the surgeon, you know, an old Cuban surgeon guy here from Miami, so I'm gonna do my impressions. You know, oh, yeah, I've never seen anything like this. What is this? I don't know what you have, but I've never seen anything like it. And I told him, oh, it's called hydronetus suppurativa. And this pompous ass surgeon said, no, 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 no. Hydronetus suppurativa is like a dog with infected anal glands. Literally, this is a surgeon, an old
Yeah.
surgeon telling me this. So I can see where a lot of people don't know. Uh, I don't know about you, me, and this is something I'm gonna give out as a suggestion. You should always have a hospital bag ready to go. With some
Yes.
with some essentials because God, you never know. Sometimes the pain's unbearable, or sometimes you can smell the infection. You really can. When that smell changes, you're like, uh oh, spaghettio.
Yep.
Or all of a sudden it's mostly pus. You know that, okay, maybe I should seek immediate medical attention. One of the things I did, if you go to the Hope for HS Foundation, I don't know if you've ever been to their website or not.
I've been there before.
Okay, they have an entire page that you could print out and bring to the emergency rooms with you to hand to the doctor. And
Yeah, there's been a lot of helpful things. Also, there was, and I'll see if I can find it.
yeah.
But one of the HS warriors actually came up with something you could print on a business card.
Oh
So you could
man.
just go
Okay.
to Vistaprint and just buy a card, but
Oh
it would
man.
have all the questions on the card, and so
Yeah.
you could and it was they had an informational one that you could give somebody that's asking about HS. You could hand that to them, or if you're talking to the doctor, you can have it and you can use it as a reference.
Well, most of my thing is for the doctor, and it's funny, man. So that gets put into my bag. Of course, my list of meds, a couple different chargers. The most important thing with the chargers is I have a small extension cord with three heads on it because, sometimes you can't put it to charge and it's too far away to use it. Uh, and I get it, man. Sometimes you deal with these. There's a lot of good doctors. So, and excuse me what I'm about to say, because they're practicing on us and we're supposed to be patient while they practice on us. But some of them are pompous asses.
Oh,
They,
they can be. I've had some bad doctors before,
yeah.
but I've been fortunate that lately I've had some really good doctors
Uh,
that actually care and they go fight against the insurance company
yeah.
for me.
It's not even has to do with insurance. It's just knowing what HS is, Because I've had that where they don't even know what hydronetus. They've never even heard of it before I walked into that emergency room. I gotta be honest with you, man. Sometimes it just feels like all I want to do is whenever I meet one of those doctors to start talking to them like Forrest Gump. I'm gonna be like, "Hello, doctor. I may not be a smart man, but at least I know what HS is. It's an autoinflammatory disease, and that's why I have the AIDS baby with Jenny." Like just start talking to them in such a simple, stupid way. There's, of course, that's gonna piss off the doctor even more, But the for me the best suggestion I could give is go with the paper. Even like you said, try to find that link because I will definitely put it in the description. But I'm gonna put the description to the HS Hope for HS website in the description where they can get the thing to print it out because just because you're a doctor, you're practicing doesn't mean you know everything. Practice makes perfect, right? And sometimes it
Exactly.
might be the first time we do it. They see it. So yeah.
Yeah, and see, in my past, like I had a dermatologist for a long time that misdiagnosed me. Like
Oh
I lived with
really?
the misdiagnosis, and I had no idea I was misdiagnosed. I just figured that whatever I had wasn't being helped with all the medications they would try on me. So, I was told I had folliculitis or I had keloidis nuchae on, because I had it on the back of my neck,
Yeah.
and I've had like every diagnosis besides HS. And as soon as that doctor retired and I got a new doctor, he walked in and he said, "Oh, that's HS. I
Yeah.
know what that is. I've seen it before." And so he built trust with me, and I noticed that his practice. He said he only had 3 patients with HS when he first started, but now he's got a multitude of them because of the awareness out there. And now that there's certain medications that are actually prescribed for HS, people are
Yes.
starting to seek treatment.
Well, there's more. I will tell you this, and I know this firsthand. There is more money being poured into the research for HS now than ever before. With AbbVie, who makes Humira. There's a few other drug companies and a few other people pouring money into it. Because before it was never really researched. That was the problem. Now people are starting, pay attention and research, and it's great. In my first podcast, I said, "Oh, as of right now, there's no cure, and this is what we know of it." One day, I'm hoping we look back and be like, "Yo, all it takes is a freaking $40 pill, once a month or whatever, and it's gone forever." That would be ideal, but you know, here's to fingers crossed. you know.
I hear you, and it's difficult when
Yeah.
there's no awareness, because when I was first told about this, like there was nowhere to look. I would search it online. I would get like WebMD and a couple medical journals, but that was it. Like
Yeah.
there was no resources out there online, and now there's support groups. There's a lot of things on there,
Yeah. No.
even just on Instagram pages.
Yeah.
There's a group of us. You're among them, where we share everybody's HS content. If we
Yeah.
see HS content, we share it, because we're in this for awareness. We figure if more people are aware, then the harder they're going to work to find a cure for this, and then people will actually be diagnosed properly. Because I mean, I just think of all those years I walked around thinking I had something else, where I could have been treating this whole time, and I probably wouldn't have got as bad as it did if I would have been treating it with the right medication at the time.
Or even it's just nice to put a name to the freaking culprit, like the true name to it, You're not playing
Yeah,
guess who. You're like, no, this is who it is.
yeah, and that's a hard thing. And of course, this disease is hard to pronounce, and regional accents are different. Everyone's going to say it a little
What
differently.
what
Excuse-
for me, maybe not for you. For me, it's a total pain in the ass disease because my areas, are on my backside, in between my thighs and my scrotum. Just the lovely portions. So why not give a pain in the ass disease a pain in the ass name to pronounce?
Exactly, and I've got the pain in my ass as well,
Oh,
because I get
yeah,
sores in my ass crack. I get them
yeah.
on my balls,
Oh,
and
yeah,
let me tell you. I mean, I've survived testicular cancer, and while I was in there getting this, it was an emergency surgery that they were telling me they were going to check something out, knock me out. I woke up without a testicle, so and they were saying it was, I had cancer. They needed to take it out. There was no choice. I was just
yeah,
going to lose it.
yeah,
So in because it was swollen up like to the size of a lemon. And so, I was in there complaining about that. Well, they knocked me out, and as soon as I wake up, there's no testicle there. But then there were, of course, where they did the cut, the HS starts going, starts growing
yeah,
on the incision line,
yeah.
and the incision line's kind of high up on your groin. They don't cut your actual testicle; they cut like up pretty high, and
Wow.
like go
Okay.
down to get it out.
Huh.
So I mean, it was up high where I have the scar, but that's where the HS started manifesting itself after that surgery. Because again, when as soon as they do a surgery on something, it seems like the HS moves. I know that's very anecdotal, because like
No,
the doctors say that doesn't happen,
it
but
does.
it happens with me, and I've
Yeah.
I've had it happen. When I had my armpits done, it's moved to my groin area. When
Yep.
I got one of my thighs done, it moved to the other thigh. It's like you're like playing that game of whack-a-mole. You don't know where it's
Yeah.
going to pop up next, but it's going to pop up.
Dude, you are. Let me tell you, I've experienced it because it used to all be, like I said, on my pilonidal cyst and my upper ass area. And the minute I had all that removed, I was on wound vac and everything else. It popped up on the lower part of the ass, and now in between the thighs. And it's like, Jesus, can we get a break? Well, speaking of
Yeah.
breaks, man, we are running out of time. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. I hope we could do this again sometime. You know?
Yeah, I'm always down. We can do a little co-host thing. We can do the
Yeah.
Bob and Tom of HS, or whatever you want.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Definitely, man. And any HS warriors out there looking to get in touch with me, you can hit me up on Instagram, the HS Warrior Podcast. My email is hswarriorpodcast@gmail.com. And Pedro, how can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
They can go straight to my website. It's hssoapcompany.com. So it's just hssoapcompany.com. There's no the in it.
Yeah.
And you can also go to my Instagram. My Instagram handle is HS Heroes Reborn. So you can look me up there. I'm also on Facebook under my name, Pedro Romero. You can find me there. I have an Incredible Hulk as my little logo on my avatar. So I am on TikTok, but I don't use it very much anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm going to transition it later. But right now I'm focusing more on my Instagram content.
No, that's great, man. That is great. All right, guys. Well, be safe, be healthy. Make sure to keep your balls clean or your tits clean, whatever you gotta do. And if you're looking to clean, make sure you use the HS Soap Company.